What is up, my people? Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a fun and interesting one for me because this is a first. We'll be doing a Q&A. And I think this is exciting because I can kind of answer some questions that you guys might have for me. Let that be in training and outside of what I'm doing, and maybe podcast questions. And I think this would be fun to try to do this on a consistent basis, maybe not like super consistently in the aspect of like monthly, but every couple months we can throw out a Q&A to see if people like that. Obviously kind of copying Chris Williamson here, but it is fun to kind of connect in this way and kind of build off of, some of the questions that you might have for me and, create some cool dialogue. So we have 11 questions. I didn't want to do too many and have this drag on, but if this is something that's liked and, we both enjoy this, then I will gladly keep doing this and we can kind of have fun with it. So with that being said, let's just jump straight into it. The first question, I'm not going to name names unless people want me to. So in the second one, we can do that. If you hear your question, you'll know it too. How can I get my flexibility back and hug my pike? So this is a fun one. Obviously I've built an online business around some training, and this has been a fun journey helping people get into more flexible, strong positions. And obviously in diving, this is very important. So it's a long extended answer. Obviously we'd have to see what you're dealing with. Is it your hip flexors that are kind of being your biggest limiting factor here? Is it your hamstrings? Is it your low back, your glutes? My advice for you is to look into all of those areas. I think one thing that really applies well for me, at least, is how well is my front split doing? Usually connects fairly well to my pike compression. A front split usually works. While I'm getting a call right now, I thought I silenced everything. Nice. My front split usually does really well when it comes to my compression of my pike because it's allowing me to open up my hip flexors and also my hamstrings. But if you do it in a more active way, right? So if you're not passively just sitting in it, you could actually strengthen the end ranges of your hamstring. And then if you're in a kind of, again, if you're thinking about like not being flat on the floor in a front split and you're actually elevated holding it, you're strengthening both the hip flexor and the hamstring in an end range position, which is quite hard to do. So working towards things such as that. So my easy advice would be actually to work on your front split because it actually might help you more than you expect. And then to get into a pike more often. And if you can do that dynamically. So if you are a diver, then jump into belts and slam into back 2.5 pikes and 3.5 pikes, even if you don't do them, but you're working the action of getting smaller. So you want to work the muscle in a bunch of different ways. So if you're in a front split and you're just sitting there, if you think about that, that is passively sitting in that position. But you also want to take the muscle through a bunch of different types of movement. So passive, more dynamic way, so quickly slamming into it, actively, so holding maybe a front split in an isometric position, which means you're just struggling to stay in one position in a contracted way. So again, like a standing front split. I think that's the best advice I could give you now. If you have more questions, DM me and then we could set something up and I can help you personally. But that is how I personally would go about helping you get into a front pike position. You also threw out posting flexibility routines again. I can do that if there is some interest. I always think it's fun to just post some routines that I think are cool or that I think are helpful. And obviously everyone's very different, but you can also always take, good things away from what other people are doing and you can tie it into your own. So yeah, I'll definitely think about that. And if there's some want for that, let me know in the comments. And if I see there's some interest, then yeah, I'll definitely do it. So question 2, I was asked about red light therapy. This is something that I've been doing for the past couple months that I've been playing with. I wanted to utilize it for some of the benefits that have been said. It's not been like very intricately studied. you're looking for like randomized controlled studies that are like the gold standard. There's not I don't think there's either any or a lot that conclude the benefits, but there's a lot of evidence behind what it can do for your skin and for your muscles. And so I'm just going to read you some information that I've kind of learned about, and then I've applied and seen how it's helped me over the past few months. It feels like it's been pretty helpful, but let me just read you these few things of what it's been reported to help with. So red light therapy is still an emerging treatment that's generating growing interest, but at this time, there's not enough evidence to support most uses. So just throwing that out there so you know it. So it's said to stimulate collagen production, which gives skin its structure, strength, and elasticity. So if you're looking for keeping your face youthful and you don't want to use a bunch of shitty lotion products that have a bunch of horrible chemicals in there lying to you that they're helpful, this is probably a little bit of a healthier way to do it. It increases blood circulation to the tissues. So this is where I actually wanted to use it, and then reduces inflammation in cells. And so those last two are actually the reason why I wanted to utilize it. So when you're looking at recovery and making sure that you're trying to keep some injuries in a at least maintainable position, I was utilizing this for my knees and my shin splints, hoping that it would kind of help the blood flow and help me at least feel like I'm getting some recovery when I go home. Obviously, when you're at such a high level and you're pounding so much on your body, I'm not looking for a 10% increase. That's not likely. But if I can get a 1 to 2% increase in how I feel, I'll take it. And so this was a cool investment that I made. There's a bunch of units that you can find. There's some more trustworthy companies than others. So do your research, look into it. I'm pretty sure there's a Huberman podcast on it. So yeah, just do your research and look into it if you find that it is something that you would want to try. The other question that was going along with that was, why would you use reverse osmosis water? This one is a very well-studied one, and it's just a pretty basic one. If you live within the United States of America, our water systems are just not that clean. And so there's a bunch of chemicals that are able to be ran into our water systems. And so if you're trying to take out heavy metals, a lot of just like runoff chemicals, this is something that you'd want to pull out. And so eventually this starts to disrupt your hormones and your skin health, especially if you're trying to, shower with it, brush your teeth with it, drink it. So again, I have a few things written down just that I found online that were saying why the reverse osmosis would be a good investment to make. And so for some of these were some chemicals that were found within our water systems. So nitrate is one of them, which causes birth defects, or in high doses can be immediately toxic to babies. Not super great. Another one is, which you guys have probably heard of, is arsenic, which impairs children's growth, brain development, and immune systems. Now, it doesn't even have to be about children. Again, just think about what you're putting into your body consistently. Horrible shit. And again, these are like 3-4 things, but think about the fluoride that has been shown to not be great for brain development and if you look it up, there's just lists upon lists of things that you'd want to take out. So you're trying to take out chemicals, heavy metals, and a lot of other just runoff into our water. And then if you want to look it up for fun, there's pictures of our pipes and our pipe systems, and that will give you the ick, and have fun looking at those. So that's kind of what I have. Also, if you just want to have, because all water systems within every state are a little bit different, kind of running on here, but the EPA requires your local water supplier to release an annual consumer confidence report. So they kind of tell you the levels, how toxic is it comparative to, the standard that we have within the U.S., so on and so forth. If you're interested, you can look at other countries comparative to ours to see what they're willing to have within their waters comparative to ours, to see how horrendous our systems are. So that is why you would want a reverse osmosis system. Again, you're pulling out a lot of minerals out of your water. So one thing to keep in mind if you are doing that is you will have to add minerals back in. Something to keep in mind. So the next question, beyond sport, training, and podcasting, how else do you express creativity? I think it's a cool question because this is kind of what my schooling was. I graduated with an undergraduate degree in mass communications, but I was pushing it more towards film. And so what I like to do on the side is actually just make short films. I've made a few of them. Photography and then bouldering, climbing is a big one for me. I'm obsessed with movement. As the coach that asked this question, I can only assume you are as passionate as I am about movement. So being able to move the body in fun ways. And I think the short films are fun because I usually try to copy Craig Adams, who is on the podcast, who does these like silent backpacking videos. That's something I want to do more of. And that is usually something to where I feel like I can express my creativity with video and photography. So yeah, that's how I express myself outside of the things that I'm doing right now. Next question was, who were your diving idols? Outside of just everyone that made the 2012 Olympic final in the 10-meter event, some specific ones I always gravitated to. For everyone in the U.S., this is just an obvious answer, who's also my coach at the current moment. David Badaya was just always very fun to watch. It was exciting for, someone from the U.S. To watch someone that's just such a legend and break up the Chinese or if even beat the Chinese. So that was always fun watching him. Honorable mentions was Patrick Housding, was very cool to watch be so high and so elite on 3-meter and 10-meter. I mean, the guy did every single event. So very incredible. And then Chen Aisen and Chin Kai, excuse me if I said those wrong, but two unbelievably good Chinese divers. Chen Aisen was on 10-meter, and just his lines and how good he was at doing his twisters, arm stand, back arm stand twist, and back twist on 10-meter was just always cream of the crop for me. So I loved watching those. And then Chin Kai was just so fluid, and I loved how he just like moved within the board and was able to ride the board. And even when he missed it, he was somehow able to like finagle his way into like catching it. My favorite dive from Chin Kai was like a 307, was just so smooth. And then the next question kind of plays into this, but my favorite 3-meter dive at the moment, it's kind of always been, but a good 307, a gainer 3.5. It's a backflip spinning forwards for the people that don't know diving, in a tuck position so your knees are bent. Just a beautiful, beautiful dive when done well. So it just never gets old. You see a lot of diving in today's age, and I don't know if people can attest to this, but if you go back in time, they did less flips, less twists, and it was just almost more aesthetic. But a gainer 3.5, it kind of just like perfectly fits in the middle to where it's still a lot of dive, but can just be done so cleanly and classically to where it's palatable when you see one ripped. So yeah, big fan of that dive on 3-meter and 10-meter. Next question. What's it like being in the Olympics? Now, this is a very interesting question. I actually made a film on my experience called Silence with, again, someone that was on the podcast, filmmaker in Indy, Jack Linderman. And we kind of went over my experience of, sometimes you can get what you want and not feel like you got anything. Obviously, I went during the COVID era, so, there was no fans, and it was just kind of an interesting feel of being at the Olympics, but like having no one there essentially. And then you're kind of in this like nice prison. It was a beautiful village, but it was hard to go outside of the village. And then if you went outside of the village, you'd be afraid to contract something because then you don't get to compete. And then to me, your Olympic dream is gone because I feel like you have to compete to be an Olympian. You have to be in the Olympics, not just be there. So yeah, it was kind of a high stress situation, but again, such a cool experience to represent my country on the top of the top, get to compete against everyone in a more high intensity situation. And so, yeah, it was incredible. I think one interesting thing I kind of learned from it though was you would think every Olympian was like what you want them to be. But again, that's not fair. But it's always interesting. I went to the Olympics. I met all of these Olympians. A lot of them were self-absorbed. It's about me. Get out of my face. It was like I was like in a high school situation, funny enough. And so one of the quotes I wrote down is like, not necessarily don't meet your idols, but recognize that these people are just people. And usually you actually end up learning to just love the people around you, the people that are connected to you because they care about you the most and, they provide you the most value. And so you can go up to this person, expect, them to be exactly what you thought them to be, but they usually aren't. And so that's why you usually get hit in the face with that quote, don't meet your idols, is because you usually will be disappointed. So what that taught me was to actually appreciate and love the people that are around me. And then the ones that do treat me well, even though I don't know them. And so I did meet other Olympians that were incredible and very nice. It just wasn't as common because, you get to the Olympic Village and everyone treats you like, you're a god. All the workers there are just like, blown away every time they see you. And then, everything's for free and you get all this clothing and you get so pumped up that sometimes people forget to, recognize they're not God. And so you sometimes either need to meet people that suck to like almost bring you back down to earth, or, you have to recognize that you yourself kind of suck too. And you're just a human. So it was a very cool experience. It was a very needed experience in the aspect of like, it's not always about getting this goal. You actually have to learn how to set your goals and aspirations past that. So, what is your purpose? And it has to go deeper than just achieving a thing. That's what I learned. And so that's why I think a lot of people are depressed after, is because you either get this thing and then it's gone. And so you had 20 plus years, decades of work, and you had it and now it's gone. And so that's why like the Olympic blues, or, you hear so many people like suicidal after, is because they got it and you don't know what to do with it. And then once it's gone, you don't know what to do with life. And so it's like you've been in these horse blinders for a decade or two, and then it all opens up and then you just don't know where to go with that. And so kind of a stressful, weird situation to be in. So you have a lot of people kind of questioning, who they are, what they are, because, your whole life was built around diving or whatever sport it was to make it to that point. And that was all you were defined as. That's the problem. And so then you get smacked in the face with reality. And it's a good reality to get smacked in the face with, because it forces you to change. And so I don't know if this is a depressing answer, but I think it's a realistic answer. And so, you get to actually see the reality of what it looks like to have an Olympic pursuit. And like, again, you got to even look at the journey. That's where the important part is not the last thing, but the entire journey within itself, the people that you were, training with, and the moments, the day-to-day grind with, your team. That's the important part. That's what I learned. And so, incredible experience, but I like to say it was an incredible journey, not just an incredible final competition. You want to look at the whole picture. So if you get it or you don't get it, that doesn't take away from who you are as a person, and it doesn't take away from your journey itself. So yeah, there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives, but that's life, right? The yin and yang of how everything works. So if you have more questions about any of these things that I've said, by the way, again, just in the comment section, we'll just keep going. What's something you are excited to do after your career that you couldn't do while you were diving? I got to do it once, and then I came back to diving, and I wasn't able to do it again, but I would love to go backpacking. And again, going back to the express your creativity and get to film it and go travel all over the world without having this, I have to be diving in 2 days, resting on my shoulder. So I'd love to go backpacking, and I'd love to film it. I'd love to take photos. I'd love to just be in nature because it's very healing being in nature. So Bailey, I can't wait. So great question. Next question is more about training, shoulder mobility, and recovery. Obviously, divers, and this is a climbing. My boy Luis asked this question, but climbing and diving, they put a toll on your shoulders. What do I like to do? I like to do consistent movement, get them into ranges of motion. So I like to use band work, do some band dislocations, do some flies, just get your shoulders moving. Just don't stay stagnant. Don't just sit on a laptop, boop, 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 and do nothing all day. Move them. You can roll them out. I've got like this black little Nike ball I'm obsessed with. The non-vibrating one, it's just annoying when they vibrate, but I like to put it in my pec and my lat, my tricep, open up, but again, do some like tricep extensions, very light movement, get some blood flow, make sure to move them, hang a little bit. I love hanging. It feels so good. Passive and active hanging. Play, throw things. If you're a diver, try throwing things. If you're a climber, I guess try throwing things, but like move your body in different ways so you don't get stuck in one plane of motion. And I did want to talk about this. Find coaches that can teach you incredible things. So Hayden Mitchell was on the podcast. He was one that asked about the creativity. I guess I'm naming people, so sorry about that. But find coaches that train you in a smart way that stays out of these little confined boxes. So Hayden's a great example because he's very creative and he thinks in a different way and you get to move in a different way. So find coaches that can push you in a creative direction and in a smart direction so you don't just run into these boring workouts that do lackluster for you. You want to learn about your body. You want to learn how to move in your space. Move differently. So if you're a climber, do some handstands, invert your body, move in a different way. And I think that will actually play into how your shoulders feel. And this recovery would be, obviously, if you're hurt, then step back and talk to a physical therapist or whatever and see how you can, make your steps forward. But if you're just trying to recover from a training session or climbing, or you feel like you're kind of stuck in this rut, move differently and it'll feel very good. So I bet Hayden and I can do a whole nother podcast on just how to move in different ways. And maybe we will, if that's something of interest, but that's how I would approach it. Move differently. Don't be stuck within one type of movement. Play. It's fun. Book recommendations. This is a fun one. So I have a couple. This is for athletes, but it kind of goes outside of athletes. But I'm just going to show a couple of books. I found a couple of random quotes. That's how great these books are. But the first one is The 4 Agreements by Don Ruiz. The 4 Agreements. And you could just scroll or, flip to a random page and find phenomenal quotes. So the whole war on control between humans is about making assumptions and taking things personally. Oy, oy, oy. That fits me. So the 4 Agreements is just how you move through life and how you can understand yourself and how to address, interpersonal relationships and just life itself. Probably one of my favorite books I've ever read. Very, very recommended. Very short read. So if you do not like reading long books, that is a very easy one. The next one is Chop Wood, Carry Water. Just talked about this in the last podcast. It's by Joshua Medcalf. Sorry. Here's another quote that is phenomenal. Everything is an opportunity to learn and grow because remember, you are building your own house. Now, this goes into a lot of pre-chapters, but again, it takes your mindset on how you address every situation. I'll go up a couple lines to read you maybe a better quote. The secret is to understand that nothing is a test, but only an opportunity to learn and grow. Many people never fulfill their potential because they look at every situation in life as a test. I mean, come on, son. That's tasty. So, love Chop Wood, Carry Water. Again, incredibly short book. Third one that I would recommend is The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. I've read a few other of his books. Phenomenal. They start to somewhat get repetitive, and maybe I'll put the other book. I think the other book that I like is The Journey of Socrates. So if you read this one and The Journey of Socrates, woohoo, you're in a good spot. Where's the quote? To rid yourself of old patterns, focus all your energy not on struggling with the old, but on building the new. Incredible book, and it teaches you how to, it takes you through a story of a gymnast struggling with all of these problems, and he finds a mentor. He calls him Socrates. Incredible book on how you could be a better person and athlete, and how they actually merge together. They are one. So those are my book recommendations. Love those books. Read the Way of the Peaceful Warrior 2 or 3 times now. Cried one of the times. Not sorry about that. Incredible book. Definitely give those 3 a look. Last and final question. What do you recommend for an ex-athlete to do now that they are done with their sport? Phenomenal question. Do not stop moving. Do not stop moving. Do not be stagnant. Let that be. I think you should never stop strength training because it's just good for your body overall. You want to maintain some muscle mass, have that sweet beach bod. But again, just thinking about health span, not lifespan, but how we move through our years towards the end in a healthy way. Pick up your kids, be able to play with them. Think about it that way. But yeah, find another movement practice. Let it be. Dancing is a great one. Learn how to move in a different way. I found climbing. That's what I plan on doing. I think running marathons sounds exciting. I'll give that a try. I don't know if I'll be able to. It was probably just listening to too much David Goggins. But find another way to move. Find a community that likes to move. So there's running clubs, which is a great way to be active. And then again, be social. I think that's the goal when we're doing these movement practices, is actually to connect with other people. So yeah, find a way. Jiu-jitsu, great community. Like, you could just go on, but I feel like some of the big ones right now would be like running, climbing is like really taking off. Jiu-jitsu's taking off. So those are the few that like come to mind for me. But yeah, I mean, try diving for the hell of it. Why not? Just go to a local pool and don't hit the board, but play, flip, try new things. So never stop moving would be my advice, and that will pay dividends down the line. So that was all 11 questions. I thought that was super fun. If you guys enjoyed that, let me know, and I can do another one of these in maybe like 5 or 10 episodes. If not, I can do it this is episode 35, so I could do it in 35 more episodes. But the goal is to hit 100 podcasts. That's what I promised myself. If I liked it or not, I'm getting to 100 podcasts. So you guys got me for a while. I'm going to try to connect and bring on just really dope people. The Performance Playbook podcast, the thought behind Performance Playbook was, anyone good at anything, let's hear about it. If that's designing a home, let's hear about it. If that's how to eat more effectively as a carnivore, great. As a vegan, great. Like, I want to hear about everything. So I love just talking about being a better performer in anything. We all are athletes. It's the idea of the everyday athlete. That's all of us. We never stop being in athletics. It's just what that athletic pursuit is. And life within itself is an athletic pursuit. So that is kind of the general way I'm looking at this podcast and what I'm kind of having fun with. So if you guys also have people you would want to be on the podcast, please let me know, because I will love to reach out to these people and tell them that there's someone asking for me to interview them, which would be a fun way to reach out to someone. So with that being said, that was about 30 minutes of me barking at these questions, and hopefully I gave you good answers. If not, let me know, and we'll address that behind the camera or something. I don't know. It's a weird way to put it, but yeah. So this was super fun. I hope you guys had a great time, and I will stop bothering you. So have a great day. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next episode. I said leave studio. I'll talk to you next episode. Bye.